and welcome to the Divorce Lab. We're a group of independent professionals working to help educate the public on various topics related to divorce. I am Carri Goldring, a certified divorce lending professional who specializes in mortgage planning.
And I'm Mark Avezai. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. I work primarily in Troy, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Jim Chryssikos. I'm a family law attorney and mediator located in Troy, Michigan. So let's get started with today's show. Hi, Carri. How are you?
I'm well. You want to talk about pets and divorce?
Pets and divorce. Yeah, that's a fun topic, but it can be a really difficult one for some clients. And a lot of people don't like the answer, unfortunately, because the cold reality is, when you look at what the law in Michigan is, and I'm only qualified to talk about Michigan, but the law in Michigan is that pets are property. And when it gets in front of a judge has to treat it as property, right? Even if it's, a loving member of the family, like all of our pets are.
Don't tell me they say sell the pet.
I haven't had that happen, and you can't split them in half. So the reality is what a lot of folks will do is either if they can't agree, and a lot of people don't want to split pets up. Like if you have two dogs, and obviously two pets can be very bonded with each other. So they don't want to split the dogs up or the cats up or whatever it is. So that can be problematic too. It's not as easy as saying
like children.
Yeah, it's not like saying we have two cars, so you take one car and I'll take the other car, right? These are actual, sentient beings. They have relationships, and it's difficult to separate them, just like it would be with children sometimes.
So do the dogs follow the kids, or the pets follow the kids?
That can happen. So if you have a divorce case with minor children, it does sometimes happen that the dog will, or cat, whatever it is, follows where the child goes, and the parents just work out transportation for both, right? That can get a little cumbersome, but people do it. They find a way to make it work if they both agree and they're on the same page that this is for our children, right? But I should say, if a case isn't going to trial, and a judge isn't going to have to make that decision, it leaves a lot of opportunities for people to reach some kind of agreement. And a lot of times people do reach an agreement like parenting time agreement, but for pets. And if they agree to it, and if it's very well laid out in their settlement or in their judgment of divorce, my experience is, and I think most judges would agree, that they would follow an expressly mapped out pet parenting time agreement. And it's happened. And it's not that unusual.
And then what about I guess it's all negotiated, right? But you have the vet bills and who gives the medicine and dog training.
Yeah.
It's like another child.
Yeah, that should all be in that agreement. If they're going to go to the trouble of working out a schedule for pets, they should include all those, just like you would for children with child support, right? You do the same with pets. You say you allocate how they're going to pay for the veterinary bills or any other expenses. Now, obviously, unlike with children, with a pet, you do have to it has to be registered in somebody's name, right? And so that's usually where the court lands, is if they can't agree and it ends up going to the judge for trial, the judge is going to look at it. At least one big factor they're going to look at is, well, whose name is it in? If it's in your name, it's your pet. You could probably try to argue against that, but I think more times
it's probably mostly the stay-home parent, right? Or whoever. They're like, oh, I have time on my schedule's flexible. I can go register the pet.
Yeah. Haven't really had to litigate that in front of a judge, but I do know that, again, like I said at the beginning, judges are going to treat pets as property because they don't have any other alternative.
So someone shouldn't be embarrassed if they have a pet and they want to discuss it in their judgment. It's not as one-off as one might think.
Absolutely not. It's fairly common. Now, I will say this. Most people don't want to spend a lot of money in legal fees arguing about it. So most people do work something out without the lawyers getting too deeply involved. And that makes sense, and especially if they're fighting over big issues like child custody, spousal support, division of their home and retirement or a business, those are big issues that are potentially life altering in terms of, what they mean to each person. Whereas a pet, as emotionally tied as we are to our pets, not as much for most people. That's
Right.
not on the same level as who gets the home or how we splitting up our retirement, because that's how we're going to support ourselves for the rest of our lives. But everybody's different. I mean, we can't treat all people the same. And for some people, the pets may be, especially if they don't have children, might be the most important thing.
Right.
I mean, we've seen cases where people want to be buried with their pets, and it goes to show you
People
how
will go
bonded people
far
are with their
with
pets.
animals, right?
Yeah.
They will. And I understand that. We have two dogs, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think my son would be devastated.
So yeah, the nutshell is most people do work it out. They find a way to make it work. But if they do want that specific schedule and an alternating basis, a week on,
Can't
week
be
off, or
done.
whatever it is, you really have to construct that portion of your settlement very deliberately, very carefully, make sure it's absolutely clear. So that if it ever did have to go in front of a judge can interpret it very clearly, it's easily. And don't leave a lot of things for chance or, well, we'll work it out later, because that's like, you want to get in a judge's doghouse, leave it vague and ambiguous and ask the judge to figure it out later. You're going to drive a judge crazy if you do that,
Right.
right?
That makes sense. All right. So if you have a pet, don't be afraid to bring it up for your divorce settlement.
Right. Oh, and the last thing I'll say, a lot of people forget to even mention it. And then at the end, when we think we've got everything wrapped up, they say, okay, what about the cat or what about the dog? I said, well, when did this become an issue? Because you never brought it up. So don't leave it till the end. If you think if you've got a pet issue and it's going to be an issue,
Bring it
don't
up.
keep it a secret. Let us know. Let the lawyers know.
Perfect. All right. Well, as
Okay.
always, it was great to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to us today. You can find us on the divorcelab.com. You can feel free to take a look at our other episodes, and you can also leave some questions or comments for us on there as well.